So heart disease was a little known issue before that. It was not something that was in the normal lexicon in America or around the world. It's certainly not in for doctors even. Then when the American President Eisenhower had a heart attack, there were headlines, and you can actually look these up, and it says, "What is this new heart disease? Doctors baffled about this heart disease."
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it was a new thing, and people were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. So there was a lot of people looking at it. So what does that tell you? That tells you that it was not a problem before that. It was not something that was a big prevalent issue, and everyone before that was actually was trying to eat butter. They were trying to eat lard. They were cooking with lard. They were eating a lot of meat. They were the idea was to try to get enough fat and enough meat, and we had no heart disease. And as one doctor and scientist pointed out, when everything was they started blaming fat and meat on everything. They said, "How we've been eating fatty meat forever." And if you look at the fossil record and you look at like the stable isotope studies and things like that, we really have been. And how can an ancient diet cause a new disease? Because it really was a new disease. So they were looking at it, and there were sort of two camps. There were people that saw that the increase in refined sugar perfectly tracked the increased prevalence of heart disease in the 20th century. And then the sugar company sort of got wind of this. And there's actually documents, there are internal memos that they're speaking about this, where they say, hey, look, there's this sort of research going out. We need to protect our interests, so we need to put out sort of opposition research, which is a normal thing in industry. I think Coca-Cola funds most of the nutritional research at the university level today.
What?
Yeah, they spend 11.
That's incredible.
They spend 11 times. Coca-Cola spends 11 times more in research for nutritional research than the NIH.
Wow.
Right?
Fuck.
So,
What?
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, you see, it's like, well, this study says this, and this study says this. Like, yeah, who paid for it?
Yeah. It's one of the biggest things that I've always looked into first is who's funded the study, because you do know there's a bit of a bias behind it, and they're going to cherry pick some of the data, and this study suits my narrative.
How do you know which studies to even trust?
Well, and that's the thing, you don't always know who funded it.
Yeah.
And in the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s, the opposition research that the sugar companies were putting out, they actually didn't disclose that they were funded by the sugar company, which is illegal and unethical. So, but that has since come out, and so the journal, so the University of California, San Francisco Medical School, which is a top 10 medical school in the world, and a top 10 research institution in the world, they published in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, which is a top medical journal in the world, in 2016, actual internal memos from the sugar companies back in the 60s.
Oh, they published it wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So you know how we had the tobacco memos and things like
Yeah,
that? Like 30 years. Yeah. Oh, no. There's no research. Our research says that this is all fine.
Our long distance runners love Marlboro.
9 out of 10 doctors choose Camel.
Yes.
That was an actual ad.
Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah.
And so, it's the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
And so now we have the sugar memos.
Yeah.
Right? So they're actual internal memos, their own internal communications, detailing how they paid off 3 Harvard professors to falsify data and publish fraudulent studies to make it appear as if cholesterol caused heart disease, and to exonerate sugar and say that it was totally safe.
Fuck.
Wow.
One of those professors was named head of the USDA, and it was he who authored and published the 1977 USDA declaration saying that cholesterol caused heart disease, saturated fat increases cholesterol, stop eating both.
Wow.
For the sake of your life. And it changed the entire
Who would have thought a professor was the first ever sugar baby?
Well, who would have thought profit drove people's motives?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But that's the thing too. You think about the profits, right?
Yeah.
So how much do you think they got paid? It must have been a lot, right?
Professor Sugar Daddied about
integrity. I mean, they're tenured professors at Harvard. They're top tier researchers.
probably fuck all, or was it a lot?
$6,500.
Wow.
Which today is the equivalent of $55,000 US. That's it.
Oh wow.
That's what their souls were worth.